Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? This is Amanda. I hope you're well. Indeed, if it's the afternoon or the evening, welcome. Oh gosh, do you know, I've tried to start this video, I'm not exaggerating, probably about 13, 14 times now. I'm getting to about 7 minutes in and then getting all tongue-tied and not able to get my words out. Now, on another day, I would think maybe today's just not the day to talk about it. Maybe nobody wants to listen to this. But I believe that this is an important message, and I am going to push through the resistance and the block that is here. I think that what I am trying to bring through in this video is quite a high vibrational teaching, and there's a lot of energy in the collective at the moment that is not wanting to maybe go there, because quite frankly it's easier to stay in an energy of division. We all have a bit of that within ourselves, myself included. And I think the easiest way to teach what I want to teach today is to take you on a bit of a journey that I have been on myself over the last 4 days, 5 days or so. Basically since the general election here in my country, the UK, and the Labour landslide that came in with it. I don't want this to be about politics and whether you vote left or right, Republican, Democrat. It's more to do with our reactions, whether they are absolute hysterical elation, or whether they are abject misery, or whether they're somewhere else on that spectrum. But ultimately, as spiritual beings, we need to be able to try to see the best in any set of cards that we're played. From a democratic perspective, we have to be able to respect where the collective is. Also, where the generations are. This has been a big bit of the learning for me the last few days as well. That what we might know at 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 isn't what you know at 20, in the same way that you didn't know it at 20 either. That doesn't mean that you're better than if you're 80 versus 20. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to express is the fact that every generation has an opportunity to experience what the left wing of the bird feels like, what the right wing of the bird feels like, what a confused bird feels like in terms of maybe what's going on in France right now, where basically no one has power. It's pretty much a deadlocked energy with a hung parliament. But, you know, the age I am, having lived through all sorts of different ramifications of government, number one, we can have an assumption of what the turn of the bird means based on what happened before when the left were in power or the right were in power. That doesn't actually have to be true, of course, because it's new characters and new energies now, and we should give them a fair crack of the whip. But definitely for the younger generation, they've never maybe lived through anything that is different or had change. Really struck me in my own home that, you know, with Labour coming in after 14 years of a Conservative government, that my 18-year-old, for example, and even my 22-year-old, they don't remember a political landscape any different from the one we've had for the last 14 years. So, of course, change is going to be celebrated because it's different, so it has to be better. The question is, will it be? We hope it will be, but we don't know. And right now, it's as though in our world, wherever you are, wherever you're watching this, whatever the change of power is in your country, there's like a great big question mark. We're hoping for the best. We're hoping that we're moving towards the energies of New Earth and fifth dimensional consciousness. But equally, if we have to go in a loop to get there, we will go in a loop. Equally, if we just have a very straightforward path upward, great as well. But it will be what it's meant to be and what the collective needs it to be. So our personal reactions are just our own. And more than anything, I feel as though I want to come forward and just talk about some of the reactions that I had, which are energetic, how I then transmuted them and have got myself into a better place now. Yeah, I definitely had a knee-jerk reaction Friday morning, waking up to the result here in the UK. And I'm so glad that my wiser higher self took the reins and didn't allow my lower self, which wanted to fire off, a triggered response at 6 a.m. in the morning and post it across social media. It would have been totally the wrong thing to do. It would have been divisive, not unifying. And, that is a teaching in itself. The fact that when emotions are heightened, it's sometimes better just to zip it and to work on your own response, your own emotions, before sharing them with other people, especially if they're not going to be particularly helpful. We do live in a social media age where it's very difficult and people will just fire off without thinking what they're even saying. But my job as a spiritual teacher is to try and lead and show a better way. So I'm quite proud of myself that I did that. And coming here now on, Monday morning, this is the result of that period of reflection, introspection, and a more considered approach and teaching that I can actually now deliver to you, which I wouldn't have been able to deliver to you on Friday morning. Okay. So in that light, we will commence and begin. But I would first like to start with France. Okay, so I did read on France and the elections there only last week. I'm not an expert on the French constitution and French politics and what all the parties stand for, so I will say that at the outset. But I do understand that France is a little different, certainly from my country, in that you have both a prime minister and you have a president. And everybody's heard of the president, Emmanuel Macron, but maybe not as many people have heard of the actual prime minister outside of France. But it is basically this, you've got two figureheads. So the elections that Macron just called were linked into the government led by the Prime Minister. And it was widely expected that Marie Le Pen, who is on the right, some would say the far right, I'm not saying that, but some would say she's far right, was set to win. She certainly won the first ballot, but she surprisingly has lost the second one. And it seems as though she's lost it because the left, basically the left arm, left parties, centre-left or more extreme left, have grouped together to stop her. So in places where, for example, there would have been a choice of different left parties, they've either grouped together as one, or they have one of them's pulled out, so only one is standing. So it's been quite tactical and deliberate and strategic, because they knew that by combining the left vote would be enough to defeat her. Okay. And this was all decided within the last couple of weeks, I believe, this sort of coalition of the left. My understanding is that this coalition of the left, which also includes the Greens in this coalition, are a pretty disparate bunch of people who don't have a consensus in terms of what they all agree on. So even though they have won, although it's a hung parliament, but it's more towards the left, I think it's going to be quite difficult to govern. So I'll say what I feel is coming up for France. I also want to say something about the cards that I pulled for Marie Le Pen last week and what I feel her future is, as well as Macron and the Olympics as well. So let's go back a step. So a week ago, I pulled cards for Marie Le Pen. She had the Empress, the Queen of Swords, the Eagle, the Ten of Cups, and the Three of Gardens, which would be the Three of Pentacles. They were all very positive cards. She also had the Moon, which is something we can't quite see, something unexpected. Well, this is an unexpected defeat for her. But they were good cards. And I talked about her riding into power on a wave. Now, it's easy to say, well, you just got it wrong. I don't actually think I did get it wrong, because I feel as though I was reading, assuming that the rules, basically, they were playing by the same rules. I hadn't seen this coalition of the left coming together to defeat her, essentially, which is what happened. I think that was the moon aspect of it. She herself this morning has said, just reading my notes here, she's described it as deadlock, this new hung parliament, basically, where nobody has real outright control. There are three quite powerful forces within this coalition. So she says it's deadlock, and she says, we will lose another year to decline. It will get worse, but if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. I very much get the feeling from her that even though she is disappointed today and has to go within, so I'm seeing the Hermit card for her, and the energy of going within to reflect, feeling disappointed, of course, but definitely still got her eye on the goal, which is the top job in government. So that has not gone away. She's still got the fire in her belly. And for her, she's just playing a waiting game. Now, it's the question of how long is that waiting game going to be? I don't personally feel it's 4 years. I feel as though she gets another stab at the top job much sooner than that. And indeed, the chaos and the disorder that I feel intuitively is coming in for France now, sadly. I don't like to say that and be the bearer of bad news, but I am just, reading the energy that has been rioting overnight already. I don't feel as though that's going to calm down. I feel as though her party and her are not going to go quietly into the night. And it's as though they're not going to accept this lying down. So we also have the whole world looking on France over the next few weeks, with the Olympic Games starting around about the 26th of July, I think, going through to about the 11th of August, something like that. So it's as though I feel there's going to be a lot of protests. I remember in January doing a reading for the whole of 2024, and even in January, I was picking up problems in France around the Olympics. What, of course, we didn't know in January was that Macron was going to ask for this election to take place, which was pretty foolhardy, I think, and he would probably regard it as that now, because it hasn't gone the way he wanted it to. But, it just feels as though it's her defeat and what she feels is victory being snatched away from her by trickery or manipulation, or changing the rule, not changing the rules. They were. It's not saying they've broken the law by joining forces, but it's as though doing it in a different way to defeat her. It's not going to go down well with the proportion of the population that she serves, basically. She did have the eagle as well, and I feel that's very much who she is, being able to see the longer term view. She's still very much got her eye on the prize, basically, so she's not going anywhere. And Macron today feels a more depleted in terms of power figure. So even though he might be able to hang on for a little bit longer, as I say, I think it's 2027 is the next presidential election. I mean, I don't know whether he'd be able to last that long or not. We will see, won't we? So I'm going to pull a couple of cards for France now. And I'm going to start off with a shadow deck. This is the Deep, Dark and Dangerous Oracle, because I do feel as though there is an underhand energy here with regards to this result, okay? I want to dive into that moon energy and just ask whether there is, well, I feel there is. What is the energy lurking in the shadows in France linked into this election result? So has there been some sort of subterfuge, trickery, fraud, or not fair play, basically? So we've got Anubis. We have the energy of Anubis. And Anubis talks about respect in this deck. It's card number 25. Let's just have a brief look at what Anubis is all about. So Anubis is about respect and disrespect, fear and protection. One of the Egyptian gods. It says, to our eyes, perhaps Anubis with his jackal head looks fearsome, but this is not the truth. While, yes, actual jackals do move among the graveyards and clear the bodies of the dead from the desert sands, this jackal god takes care of the tender new souls who have passed into the afterlife. So he's a god of the afterlife. Death is something that will happen to all of us sooner or later. The fear of losing our life or of death itself is something very human. Yet Anubis, with his calm and respectful presence, may be there to shepherd our souls across the divide. Okay, I understand what this is because it's a bit random. Anubis, what's that got to do with it? This is saying to me that the French bird is well and truly cooked and dead, okay? The old system is dead there, okay? They might prop it up for a little bit longer and hobble on for a little bit, but the old way there is dead. So if there's been any manipulation or trickery, it will be found out. But more than anything, this just has the whole energy of death around it. And I'm now seeing it's as though the political bird, which is France, it's as though it's a bit of a not a very nice image that I'm being shown, but, you know, if you've been to a funeral and you have the coffin and then the coffin goes on a conveyor belt through the curtain and then the curtain comes down and you've said goodbye to your loved one, well, in that coffin is France's political bird. So it's how things used to be, how, you know, it's the system. The system is up for change and will change. I'm hearing revolution, to be honest, a complete revolution in terms of how France is governed going forward, and also in terms of voting. So let's pull some cards and see what's going on. I'm going to pull firstly for Marie Le Pen and see what I can get for you that are watching. Okay, so Marie Le Pen, how is she doing today? What does Spirit wish to say? And then we'll pull some cards for France as well. Marie Le Pen. Okay, I can't tell you much about this game of chess because I don't play chess, but we have the 10 of Fire. Let's get the book. The 10 of Fire would be the 10 of Wands. It's what I just said, which is that she has got fire in her belly still. It says, on the battlefield of a chessboard, the white king sends his knight into action against an opposing black bishop. Here is the undisputed leader in complete control of the organisation he directs. He must continually confront the often unrelenting, overwhelming burden of responsibility that his position entails. So it's about heavy responsibility, a need to maintain focus or attention, and all-consuming duties and tasks. 10 of Fire. Yeah. Oh, 10 of Wands, yeah, burden. Yes, that makes sense. So she's feeling burdened, but I still feel as though she's... What's on the bottom of the deck? The Jester of Gardens. That came up for her before, the Jester of Gardens, and I didn't read what it meant. So let us read what it means. Jester of Gardens. Let's see. She definitely got this before, I'm sure she did. But for whatever reason, I didn't look it up. So, Jester of Gardens. This colourfully attired jester stands with one hand clenched in a fist and the other hand holding a globe. His direct gaze and straightforward expression suggest a trustworthy and dependable individual whose forthright nature makes for an excellent collaborator. It's about integrity, practical approach, prosperity, and act on opportunities presented. Okay, so what I'm hearing is she's waiting to catch the ball. It's as though she's literally waiting for whoever gets in via this latest fudge, basically, to drop the ball. And she's just waiting to pick it up, basically. One more card for her. Going forward, Marie Le Pen. We've got the energy of strength and the Queen of Tides. I get fury with her. I get absolute fury, but absolute strength and commitment. She's not going anywhere. You've not seen the last of her or her supporters. Okay. Let's pull a couple of cards with regards to France generally. Okay, so let's just have a look at France generally, and I'll just have 2 cards because I want to get to UK as well. So France, 2 cards for France, please. We have Temperance, and on the bottom of the deck we have the Ace of Wands, which is the Ace of Swords, so that links into Truth. It's my Batman card, yeah. Truth slowly coming out. We've got the Five of Tides, and I feel that's linked into her. This is her counting her loss at the moment and her defeat and feeling deflated. But you'll notice in this card that the woman is actually pregnant. Now, of course, it's not a physical pregnancy, but it's the fact that she is expecting. She is expecting, and she's still expecting to come into power. It feels as though truth will be revealed with regards to any foul play or distortion with regards to this result. I really feel as though that is the case. But Temperance is also the card of healing and balance. So she's just trying to come back into balance. But I am feeling that fury with her. But equally, these were cards for France. So France is trying to find its balance as well. But it feels as though the truth about the loss that she's got right now will come. Let's just split the deck. 4 of Fire. 4 of Wands, as we split the deck. This makes me think of springtime with the maypole, which we've just had, I know, but feels as though I'm being taken to next spring for France. Let's pull a couple of cards for this Olympics. So the Olympic Games. Anything to say, please, Spirit? The Olympic Games in France. We've got the 2 of Wands and the Fool. This is a crossroads. There's part of me, I can't believe that it wouldn't be in France now, but crossroads with the Fool. Let's pull one more to go with it. It has to happen, I'm sure, in France. It's too late to give it to anybody else, but crossroads, King of Tides. That's Macron. Oh, okay. Maybe this is to do with how well or badly the Olympics go is going to have a reflection on the King of Tides, which I feel is Macron in this deck. Whether he's a water sign or not is completely irrelevant, but he's very, very emotional. He's very, very up and down. And there's a lot riding on the success of these games. Can they be conducted safely, without incident, without incident or not? So he will be judged by the world with regards to the state that Paris is in come the Olympics and during the Olympics. And the thing is that those that dislike him and want to bring him down know that. And I feel as though they will put France above the Olympics. Not that I'm at all condoning violence or anything like that, but I'm just talking about protests. So I'm seeing massive protests, which are not going to stop at all. If anything, the protesters will view the Olympics as the perfect canvas upon which to show what they view as an injustice. My worry, and I did say this in the first video, is that when an emperor is found without any clothes and feels as though his power is slipping away from him, they can do rash things, inappropriate things. And I feel as though if the violence really escalated around the Olympics, he would bring in, if not martial law, just, tanks on the street. He would bring the military out to ensure the safety of the games, which would further inflame the flames within his own country with regards to the protesters. So I've got the Tower as well on the bottom of the deck coming up here. So I think all we can do as light workers is just try to surround the games in love, peace and protection, and France as well, and its people. So good luck to France. Let's pull a card from the Metatron deck for France, from the French Metatron deck. These are great. These cards are the French version of the Archangel Metatron deck. I will link below where you can get them. I'm sure you can get them in lots of places in France, but yeah, they've actually been published in French, translated as well. So the book is all in French. Let's see what comes out. So for France, let's see. Archangel Metatron, what guidance do you have, please, for France? I'm being shown the Eiffel Tower by Metatron for some reason, all lit up. Right, the deck is not upside down, but the City of Love, the Eiffel Tower, the love is upside down. We've also got the card of the heart upside down. So if you watch my last video where I was waxing lyrical about my love of France and the French, you know, the love affair with France, there's something, France isn't feeling the love at the moment, that's for sure. France is not in its heart at the moment. France needs an upgrade of energy. And now it could be that the Olympic Games give them that. I remember in my own country when we hosted the Olympics, and just before it was about to happen, there was so much negativity amongst the population, in the press. People were like, oh, it's too much money. We don't want it to happen. It was pouring with rain every day. You know, it was a really bad vibration. And then as soon as it happened, it just lifted the energy. And it was just the most amazing games. And so that's the highest timeline for France and Paris, that the Olympics can lift them out of this morass that I'm feeling at the moment and get them onto a higher timeline, which is where they need to be. So good luck to France. Okay, let's get to the second bit of this video then. And I'd like to talk a little bit about UK. So I'll timestamp this. So what happened in UK is that, Labour, led by Keir Starmer, have got in with what they call, well, it is a landslide, but I did see a headline in one of the newspapers, admittedly a more right-wing newspaper, but I did think it was a good headline. They called it Labour's Loveless Landslide. And there is something in that, because even though Labour have won a thumping majority, I think it's 412 seats, something like that, they actually only, I'm looking down at my notes here because I have actually researched this, they only received 34% of the vote. Voter turnout was only 60%. Actually, that's higher than I thought it would be. But the voter turnout was down 7.6% from 2019. So fewer people overall in the country voted than last election. They won with 34% of the vote. Interestingly, Keir Starmer has won the prime ministership and the government with a lower percentage of the vote than Jeremy Corbyn, who was the last Labour leader, who lost in 2017. Labour's vote share in England has actually stayed the same since the last election, more or less. And I read something, and this is just interesting. I'm not trying to trigger people, but a lot of the Tory losses, the Conservative losses, can be explained by former Conservative voters choosing reform, basically, to either give Labour or the Liberals or Reform the win. We definitely saw that in where I live, in my borough. So the Conservative guy lost, but he only lost because a number of people basically voted Liberal, or a higher proportion of people voted Liberal or Reform who normally would have voted Conservative. Does that make sense? So the Labour guy got in. Somebody said it's an election that the Conservatives have lost rather than one that Labour has won. Now, you might think that's a little bit mean, but actually the stats and the numbers are quite interesting. Labour's total vote went down from 10.3 million votes in 2019 to 9.7 million votes just this last week. But the Tory vote, the Conservative vote, halved. So in 2019, 14 million people voted Tory. In 2024, 6.8 million. So that's what they mean by it's more that the Conservatives lost rather than Labour won, which is just an interesting way to look at it. But yeah, if you don't know, we've had 14 years of Conservative rule. And of those 14 years of Conservative rule, which have just ended, we had 5 leaders, of which 3 were unelected, which meant that the Conservative Party kept changing their leader. So we had 3 leaders who were not actually elected by the people, Rishi Sunak, Liz Truss, and I can't remember who the other one was. But anyway, it'll come to me. So that's where we're at. What do I want to say about all this? What do I want to say about this? So let's go to my notes. Let's go to the good, the bad, and the ugly, okay? Let's see what I want to say. So I've talked about the fact that if an election doesn't go the way that you wanted it to, and I was clear with you before the election that I felt personally, this is my private opinion, which you don't have to agree with, but I felt a hung parliament would be better for the country because the Conservatives were not going to get in. Labour was going to come in with a big majority, which is what they've got. And I said, and I still stand by the fact that I feel as though a good opposition is important in every country. And I knew we weren't going to get an opposition of any particular standing. So I thought, well, a hung parliament where people have to work together or forced to, that could be the best scenario of a lot of scenarios which aren't great. Anyhow, so when it became clear that Labour had won this thumping majority, my initial reaction was was quite interesting actually. There was a few things I wanted to discuss with you and see whether you resonate with these. So number one, I realised that there was still a part of me that was clinging on to the old dead bird, basically, okay? And maybe the wing that I would prefer to chew on rather than the other one. Okay? So, and that was just interesting but it's not surprising because we are, as human beings, we are made up of many different layers. There is the physical us, the mental us, the spiritual us, the emotional us, etc. And you might understand something intellectually or spiritually and have fully integrated it, but your body, for example, your physical reaction or your emotional reaction can be very different. And that's what I found. So I had a physical reaction and I had an emotional reaction. And as an empath and as an intuitive and as somebody that, I'm fairly good at what I do, I think, not blow my own trumpet, but I know I'm good at what I do. And I know I am empathic. And one of my main clairs is clairsentience. Okay, it's my most powerful clair. And clairsentience is when you feel something in your body. And I'm not usually wrong. I'm quite good at being able to suss out people or a situation. Sometimes I get it wrong, of course I do, because I'm a human being. But my clairsentience is very well developed. So my clairsentience was on red. It was just flashing red. And the more I felt into it, I realised that actually this is about a few things. This is about a fear of change. So remember, we've had 14 years of the same thing. And after 14 years, you get either used to it or you just get comfortable with it, even if it's a dysfunctional thing. Think about your own life, things that you just get used to. You don't even realise you are until something challenges it and something changes. Within my own home, I've got an 18-year-old and a 22-year-old. They have never lived, or certainly don't have any remembrance of living, under any other system other than a Conservative Party-led government. So change when it comes, even though, intellectually you might think, well, of course it's going to happen. And actually in a democracy, it's good that it happens because we need the swing to get the balance. Your body can feel something very different. So there was a lot of fear energy that came up with me with regards to particular things, which I don't want to get into it too much because my politics is going to be different from your politics and we don't have to agree. But certain things that I thought, I remember what happened last time they were in power. Okay, I remember the years before Margaret Thatcher, for example, and the strikes and the way the country was crippled by that. And, you know, the Labour Chancellor of the Exchequer leaving that note saying, sorry, there's no more money, we've spent it all. And as a business owner and not wanting to pay even more tax, I pay an extraordinary amount of tax already, thinking, God, this is going to be a rough ride. All of that type of stuff came up. So what do you do with that? So back to being a spiritual person. It's not about having to have a shouting match with somebody about I'm right, you're wrong. That doesn't get anybody anywhere because we all have differences of opinion and no one is ever going to agree with politics. So it's like, what do you do with these feelings? And what I did was I just sat with them. I literally just sat with them. I worked through them. I felt them. So what I mean by working through them is I felt them. I felt them. I acknowledged them. I held them. And then I let them go. And that's why a period of being offline, okay, and actually being silent was really important for me. And I'm sharing this with you because if you've got an election coming up in your country, and I'm thinking particularly America, with such heightened emotions, such division, such allegiance a lot of the time to even the dying bird, even though you don't really want it, it's all you've got, so you're still clinging to the dead wing. A period of introspection and reflection the morning after is very, very advisable. Whether you're feeling completely and utterly elated, which can be interpreted as rubbing your nose in it with people who don't actually feel like that, or whether you're feeling completely morose and despondent, and who wants to share misery, you know? So it's about just sort of feeling what you feel and not having to always inflict it on other people, basically, particularly when it's regards such a dualistic thing as politics. So that was the first thing that I noticed. What else? I was struck, as I always am, that when our body is having a bit of a wobble, that how important nature is as a healer. Just to get out into nature and it puts everything back into balance. So that was good. Some of the good things that I've taken from what I'm now learning, which isn't about suddenly I'm now an avid Labour supporter, because I'm not, but just being able to see the good of what has happened, is this. Number one, this isn't just about Labour actually or Conservative. As a country, UK, we are very good with regards to the smooth transfer of power. Literally, the winner, Keir Starmer in this case, was named the winner around about, I don't know what time it was because I'd gone to sleep, but it's usually about 4 a.m, something like that. So 4 a.m. in the morning. He is at number 10, hours later, becoming Prime Minister and meeting King Charles. So a new Prime Minister always has to meet the King. But before that has happened, of course, the old Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, has had to go to the palace to say, I'm stepping down. All of this is done within hours. There's no protracted long window of handing over the reins of power when things can go wrong as well within that corridor. I'm thinking particularly America. I mean, it's your election's in November and then inauguration's not till, what is it, January or February? Just seems weird. That's such a long period of time. With the UK, it's hours. It's hours. And I think that is to be commended, actually, because, well, it's to be commended, but equally, it means you've got to get your head around it pretty quickly. But I do think that's good. The other things that I've written down here, I thought that with regards to the transfer of power, I thought there was fair play between both of the leaders, both Rishi Sunak, the outgoing Prime Minister, and Keir Starmer, the new Prime Minister. Both of them gave quite eloquent, chivalrous speeches. Sunak stepping down, Starmer stepping up. Both of them said something nice about the other. I say this because I'm doing a lot of work with the King Arthur energies, Round Table, Camelot. One of the qualities that I'm picking out with regard to Arthurian energy is this energy of fair play and chivalry. And I felt as though both men, when it came to the actual transfer of power, were very chivalrous towards the other and very eloquent in their speeches. There was no nastiness, because if they had done that, then that's spreading poison into wounds that some people might have, which isn't helpful. So I thought that was really, really good from both men. During the period when I was having the wobble and I was thinking, God, I really don't think this is going to be good for the country, which you can disagree with, but that is how I felt, okay? So don't come at me. I'm allowed to have my opinion. When I was feeling that, I can't remember what deck it was I was using, but I pulled a card from a deck, and the card that I got for Keir Starmer was commitment, or for Labour was commitment. And I thought that was a really nice card to get, because it said to me that above politics, above differences, what's that expression from Rumi? I will meet you in the field beyond differences. Here is somebody at the start who is committed to seeing this through. Whether you agree with his politics, whether you don't agree with his politics, actually is immaterial to what I'm trying to convey here, which is that he is committed to what he believes in. He is actually committed to trying the best, to make the best of this opportunity. And I also feel that of a lot of the people around him as well. So that was a nice card to get. I thought that was really good. I also thought it is really good that Keir Starmer, our new Prime Minister, announced that what he would do, one of his first acts he would do, is he is visiting all 4 nations of our country. He's going to Scotland, he's going to Northern Ireland, he's going to Wales, and he's coming to England. And I believe he's taking like a mission statement with him to all of those places. Because to be honest, this was pretty revolutionary in that across the board, across the whole of the United Kingdom, the Labour vote, even though it was only 34% of the vote, it was still the biggest percentage share. And the Scottish SNP pretty much got wiped out. So, you know, there's a strong Labour presence, for example, in Scotland as well. So I thought that was a nice gesture more than anything else, to take the time to go to all 4 quarters of the United Kingdom and say, thank you, but equally what I'm going to do for you. And it did strike me that after, you know, years of the UK worrying about breaking up, in terms of Scotland breaking off from us or Wales breaking off, I feel as though those days are gone, certainly for this generation. I don't see the UK breaking up anytime soon. In many ways, I actually feel as though Keir Starmer could be somebody who brings the country back together more, and has already with this election win. Which I personally am pleased about, because I like a united kingdom, not a fractured kingdom. I know some of my Scottish followers won't agree with me there, but that's just what I'm picking up as well. One of the first things he also talked about was the Palestine state being an undeniable right. So I thought that was good. And I wanted to talk about a few of the people that he's brought in around him, because there are some very inspirational stories. And one of them is Angela Rayner, who is the new Deputy Prime Minister. Now, she is somebody who left school at 16 without a single qualification. I believe she also became pregnant at 16. I'm not judging her for that. I think she was brought up on a council estate, you know, doesn't come from a privileged upbringing or anything like that. And whatever you think about her, again, just being able to work your way up to being the Deputy Prime Minister of the UK is an achievement. I'd like to say well done to her for that. She's also pretty outspoken, but again, I can be as well, so I'm not going to judge her for that either. So time will tell. Hopefully, you know, she will prove to be good. I would like to wish her well, even though I've had misgivings in the past. I am choosing to see the highest timeline for her, and I absolutely acknowledge where she's come from to where she is now, and I think that is admirable, absolutely admirable. So well done to Angela. I also wanted to mention the fact they've got a Labour MP called Sam Carling, who is, you know, think about America about to vote in somebody maybe in their 80s. I don't know whether Trump is in his 80s yet, but he's certainly late 70s if he's not in his 80s. Trump is in his 80s. Sam Carling, latest Labour MP, is 22. 22. 60-year difference. He has an extraordinarily high IQ. He's a Cambridge University science graduate. Again, proof is in the pudding with all these things. Let's hope he can actually deliver, because there's also something, of course, to be said for experience. But I'm just saying that around a round table, for example, you're going to have people of different ages as well as, I'm not talking about Keir Starmer being the round table, but I'm talking about just where hopefully we're all heading as a world. The round table will be people of different ages. You will have the seniors, absolutely, but also these youngsters, 22. I mean, it's the age of my Lucy. I can't believe it that he's achieved a lot already to be a Cambridge University science graduate and to be an MP. I'd like to say good luck to Sam. I'd also like to say good luck to this guy, David Lammy. Now, again, personally, a few misgivings with regards to him, just because of various things he said in the past, or policies and things that he said that I haven't agreed with. But again, his story is inspirational. He's just been appointed as, what is he appointed? I'll tell you about that in a moment. I can't remember what he is. He's not Home Secretary. That's Ed Ball's wife. He's Foreign Secretary. He's the Foreign Secretary. There's an article here I found about him, and I just want to read a little bit of it because it is inspirational. This is good stuff. This should give you a little bit of a tingle. So he was brought up, working class upbringing in inner city Tottenham, very West Indian home. I think this is him talking. I didn't stray much beyond inner London, so wider England was a mysterious thing. At my primary school, all the teachers were white. It was a tough atmosphere. One was aware of tensions, and there were quite a lot of fights. There was quite a lot of domestic violence in my street too. Then at the age of 10, I won a choral scholarship to the King's School in Peterborough. I was so fortunate, it makes me emotional thinking about it, to go to such a wonderful school with such wonderful teachers and such wonderful facilities. I was privileged, and yet it was tough psychologically. I was much more aware of racism in Peterborough, and then also suddenly had this huge imposter syndrome that you experience when you're working class, because you don't know how to hold your knife and fork properly. You're aware that your elocution could be better, and you feel inadequate when you go to friends' homes. The contrast between Tottenham and Peterborough is what first opened my eyes to the very idea of injustice. I saw that there was a different Britain, and I wanted some of it. The stigma that started to attach to Tottenham because of the 1985 riot made me very aware that my postcode almost predetermined who I was. I quickly became aware that I wanted a bigger life than my parents. His dad was a taxidermist. He says he had a factory, and it was a wonderful place to roam as a child, with the smell of chemicals and these huge animals that he was building. So the father was stuffing dead animals. The mother was shy. It's just interesting more than anything. And then get this, he basically ends up in Harvard. I'm going to link this article below because if you're interested, it's quite an interesting story, this guy. He ends up in Harvard. He also ends up canvassing for Barack Obama. It's said that he's a friend of Barack Obama's. Now, whether that's true or not, I've no idea, or whether it's something the media are sort of slightly exaggerating. But again, it's somebody that's come from very working class roots to now being in one of the most powerful positions in the land. Again, proof's in the pudding. Can he do the job? He's going to be able to do the job if we get behind him, and we send positive energy rather than negative energy. And that's where I'm at, basically, with all of them, really. So I do wish them well, and I'm glad that I've got to that place Admittedly, it's taken me a little while. But the point is, you see, that is the teaching in itself. As long as you get to the place where you're able to wish whatever party well, it's what I said for South Africa, but I hadn't gone through it when I made that video for South Africa. I said to you, didn't I, if you're watching, I said, whoever comes into power, unless you can get behind them and wish them well, you are shooting yourself in the foot. You're shooting them in the foot, but you're actually shooting yourself in the foot because you want them to succeed. And I couldn't do it on day one. I was like, no, I don't want to wish them well. I don't want them to be there. Not that I particularly even wanted the other lot to still be there. It was just like, this really doesn't feel right. I've got all this fear coming up with this. I now today can say, give it time, and I got there. I got there via being able to see the divine in every single person, the energy of namaste. Remember, this isn't about left and right. If you've got a right-wing government coming in, the same teaching I'm bringing through here applies to you. It's about trying to see the good or the story or the thing that's admirable. Get behind that. Energy follows energy. The more that you do just bring negativity to the table, the more negativity you're going to get. I saw how Russell Brand very quickly jumped on the whole WEF Davos thing. And yes, that is a thing. Keir Starmer has... there's an interview where he's being interviewed by somebody, and the lady says to him, if you have a choice between Davos and Parliament, which do you choose? And he says, Davos. I completely understand why people are up in arms about that, because Davos are linked into the WEF agenda. Is he just a puppet? He's just going to be following all of that. Time will tell. Time will tell. But my point with regards to Russell is, as a so-called new Christian, you brought in a whole load of very negative energy within hours of this guy getting power. Now, it's not to say he shouldn't be held accountable, but at the start, it's the foundation. We either give somebody lift off and try to wish them well, even if it takes us a couple of days, and then if they prove to be a disaster, absolutely call them to account. But don't right at the start bring a whole wave of negativity in, because it's just going to make it's going to backfire. Basically, it's shooting yourself in the foot as well. So I know some people will be triggered by what I've just said there, but I really believe that to be the case. So I said that I wanted to call this the good, the bad and the ugly. I don't really want to go over the good, the bad and the ugly now, because I want to just talk about, the inspiring things. But I will talk about a couple of ugly stuff, actually. Okay, just to balance it out a bit. She's not ugly, this lady. In fact, she's very beautiful and very sexy and voluptuous and all the rest of it. And good for her. She's in her 50s, and us 50s girls can still rock it. But Carol Vorderman, I mean, come on. That energy of literally rubbing people's noses in it, the gleeful nastiness of her attacks on what she deems her opponents, I really, really dislike. And you've probably got somebody like that in your country as well. I tell you what it is. It's because it feels so personal. It's so personal. Her attacks are so personal. On those she dislikes, and she was all over it, as we knew she was going to be all over it. I just don't like the way she behaves, and I just don't, because it's not unity. It's about trying to it's keeping the old game of duality and division going. And what should we do with the likes of somebody like that? Switch them off, basically. I mean, I don't even follow her, but I kept seeing her posts kept coming up and up. And I was like, what is this? I haven't even asked to see this. Which to me says that somebody is being helped, because why am I being shown somebody's work that I'm not even being asked to look at? So I actually ended up blocking her, because I thought, I don't want to see this. But it was being put in front of me all the time. So that's what you need to do. You just need to get yourself back into a place of equilibrium. Switch them off. Listen to voices of maturity. Listen to voices who are trying to bring you back to your heart, not to just keep basically presenting you with here's a big bowl of rotten tomatoes and eggs, let's keep throwing them. No, we're not going to do that. Okay. The other ugly thing I wanted to mention, and sadly this is not just UK, but Jess Phillips, who is a female politician, Labour MP now. She won her constituency. When she went to give her victory speech, which is what you do, she was shouted down by a lot of pro-Palestinian supporters. It was a nasty campaign that she had to fight, which had got very personal. I think there'd been a bit of intimidation or threats of violence as well. That's not democracy. Okay, so she stood up to them, and any of you that saw that piece of film, good for you, girl, that you did that. And she said something along the lines, "You're only attacking me because I'm a woman. You're shouting me down because I'm a woman. I'm an easy target." And there was a Labour MP, Jo Cox, a few years ago, who was murdered. So women are vulnerable in politics, and it's as though some men see them as easy prey. So that was a really unpleasant, ugly spectacle that she had to contend with. And unfortunately, we see that in other places as well, don't we? So we need to dampen down those flames. Right, let's pull a few cards for UK. I think I've said everything that I had in my notes to say. Yeah, okay. What deck should we go to? Let's just go to the good old After Tarot. Look at all these crystals that I have on top of this deck. Look at that. I love a bit of clear quartz, I have to say. Right, this keeps this deck really fresh. This is my go-to tarot deck, really. Okay. What question shall I ask? Let me have some water and think about what question I shall ask for UK. A lot of people are saying at least the UK has got a stable government for the next 4 years, and I think that's true. The Conservatives are in such a mess that there is not going to be another election, I don't believe, within the next 4 years. Keir Starmer has got a huge majority. There's no reason why he would call another election. So he's in for the next 4 years. And whatever policies he's got are going to be cemented in. Am I personally nervous about some of them? Yes. And I was talking to somebody about this only at lunchtime. One of them, for example, is building on greenbelt land. I'm very against that. I live by the sea, and recently, within the last couple of years, we had to fight. I'm talking about we, as a local community, had to fight plans for offshore wind farms, because I don't want to go down to the shoreline and see loads of wind turbines at all. But, I believe that they want to bring all that type of stuff in. So what do? We have to become active. We have to become more active at local level. So that would be something that I have reservations about, just those two policies. Okay, let's see. The other thing to say, of course, is within the UK, as in France, change to how we elect a government may very well need to come in, but I don't feel as though it will come in. Proportional representation doesn't happen here. There's been a call for it many times over many years. But put it this way, a government that comes in with such a big majority, it's not in their interest to bring it in. So I don't see him bringing that in. Nigel Farage and his Reform Party, whether you like them or not, got a lot of votes, but only about 4 or 5 seats, which doesn't seem very fair. So let's just see how many votes Reform got. Well, I'm just going on what I'm finding here. This is Al Jazeera, okay? So it says Reform has won just 4 seats, but they got 14% of the vote, while the Conservatives got 121 seats on 24%. It's just the way it's the odd way in which we do things here. It's all to do with boundaries and constituencies, and so Labour Party got 35% of the vote and got 412 seats. The Conservative Party got 24% of the vote and got 121 seats. The Liberals got 12% of the vote and got 71 seats, and the Reform Party got 14% vote and 4 seats. I think it's gone up to 5 actually. The Green Party got 4 seats, etc. Yeah, okay. Right, what am I asking of these cards? Let's just pull 3 cards for the UK under Keir Starmer's new government. Okay. So the outlook for the UK under Keir Starmer, and we'll just go for the next 12 months. Okay. So the next 12 months, the UK under Keir Starmer. We have the Two of Swords, which is a crossroads. I wonder whether this is linked into Europe. He has said he might renegotiate aspects of European agreements. Is he going to take us back into Europe? That would be deeply unpopular if he does, because we did have a referendum and people voted to leave the EU. But anyway, let's see what else we're going to have. So Keir Starmer, the government for the UK over the next 3 years. What have we got? We've got the Four of Swords and the Three of Wands and the Hanged Man. Okay, I'll try and read these as neutrally as I can. What it feels as though it's saying to me with a Four of Swords, Two of Swords, Three of Wands, before we get to the Hanged Man, it feels as though change is going to come slower than people want it to. So this feels as though it's a card of change. It's a card of looking to the new horizon. We have a new Labour government, a new dawn. Change is here, one whippity-doo-dah, you know, brilliant. New horizons. But unfortunately, it's beside the card of the Four of Swords, which is usually a card of rest and sleep and pause. So it's as though, even with this big majority, it feels as though the change is not going to happen as quickly as people want it to. And that's, to be honest, that's just basic mechanics of it. I mean, if you look at something like the NHS, even however much money they pump into it, it's still going to take a while to turn that around. It's going to take a while to turn anything around. I'm being shown by Metatron this great big lugging lorry. I don't know what you call them in America. I know you don't call them lorries. You know, big truck, but it's like it's really weighted, and that's the UK, and it's like trying to turn it round. It's like it's got to stop first before you can even turn it around. So change isn't going to happen that quickly. And then we have the Hanged Man, which is, I think this is the populace, this is the people, which is like, hold on, you said we were going to have all this change. Where is it then? To be fair, it's not his fault that change is going to take a while, because I'm hearing Metatron say other things come into affect it as well. Who said events, dear? Events, dear Watson. It wasn't Watson. Somebody said about events happen. Events happen. And unfortunately, events can be all sorts of things, including war, which we don't want to see. But it could just be also the economy is sluggish, and getting it turned round is going to take time. So I'm now being shown the analogy of an old steam train and putting loads of coal into the fire to get it going. But it takes time to get the heat and the steam, and it doesn't just happen overnight. So how patient will the population be with him? How much of a honeymoon period can he have? Let's pull 3 cards for Keir Starmer, though, to start with. Keir Starmer, 3 cards today. How's he doing? Pull a 3rd card. Well, I'll show you the first 2. It's just I want clarification on this other card. We've got the 3 of Pentacles. There is work to be done. There is work to be done. You know, I want to stand back in time and see what I have achieved with regards to all of these new initiatives I want to bring forward to the country, the change I want to bring. I want to be able to stand back and see what it is that I wish to create for the UK. But to do that, I'm going to have to fight off all this lot. I'm going to have to assert my dominance. I feel this is more linked into the, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland energy. It's as though I have to assert my dominance, my show who's top dog, basically. It's not just linked into that type of thing, but I don't think this is fighting within the Tory, well, maybe it is. Fighting, I was going to say fighting within the Labour Party, because surely they're going to be united behind him or under him. But why did I say fighting within the Conservative Party? Why would that bother him? Why would that bother him? It's not really his problem, is it? Let me just ask, why have we got the 7 of Swords there? There he is. We've got the 9 of Wands as well. don't know. Just, I mean, it might be nothing. It might just be what you have to do as Prime Minister. It's like you have to keep asserting your dominance and say, no, you're not having your way. No, we can't do that, Angela. We can't do this. Whoever the other people are within his cabinet. Let me pull a card for Angela Rayner. That's his deputy PM, because a lot of two cards have just flown out. A lot of people are saying that she is ambitious to have pulled herself up by the bootstraps like she has. She is ambitious. I feel as though she wants the top job, but equally she's not stupid. So the Ace of Wands and the Two of Cups fell out. Okay, so that's nice. I feel that's loyalty to Keir. She's loyal to him. She's not in love with him, but she's loyal to him. It feels as though they are a duo. They're a formidable duo. They want to do what they believe to be right, and they've got the Ace of Wands. Let me just pull one card for her, focusing on these cards now. Angela Rayner, anything else to say, please, Spirit, at this point? Quite a step up for her, actually. I'm being shown the step up she had to make from her humble roots to where she is now. But there's now another step, and it feels a bigger step, which is being seen on the international stage more. I mean, I'm sure as shadow deputy PM, she still had dealings internationally, but it's a whole other level when you're actually in government and you actually maybe have to stand in for him. Yeah, Page of Pentacles. She feels as though it's not that she's not up to the job. She's just having a little bit of a, emotional. She is the Queen of Cups, but I can't really, and the Ace of Cups, just a bit emotional. It's like, she'll do it. She's tough. She's got strong balls, more than most men, to be honest. But she's human, and she's allowed to just have a moment where it's like, oh God, I've got to do this. It's almost like talking to yourself in the mirror. I can do this. I've got to go and meet whoever today, and it's just a big step up. But she'll do it. Yeah, she's feeling a bit more like a page than the Queen, but she'll get to be the Queen, obviously not literally, but it's like Queen energy. I do think her and I can't wait to channel Margaret Thatcher actually soon, and I'm going to ask Margaret Thatcher about Angela Rayner, because I feel as though Maggie, as I like to call her, has a bit of respect for Angela Rayner, even though her politics are polar opposite. It's as though I feel as though there's an energy with Maggie which is to do with respecting people who pull themselves up from a more humble place to an exalted place. Yeah. Right. Anything else I want to say before I close this out? Is there any obvious question I haven't asked the cards that you're all going to be saying, why didn't you ask that, Amanda? I could ask something about the Conservatives. What would that be? I mean, I think it's too premature. I mean, who's their new leader going to be? I'm not telling you anything that you won't read in a newspaper. It'll be a battle probably between the women, Kemi Badenoch and the other girl, Suella Braverman probably. But I still see Boris in the future as well for the Conservative Party. Not yet. I think I said in my last video, I don't think he'd want to be a caretaker leader in opposition. He's biding his time. I mean, whether the country wants him back is a totally different matter, but that's just in Boris's head that he still wants another crack at it. Let's just pull a couple of cards for the Conservatives. And then I better get this uploaded. We've got the card of the Lovers for the Conservatives. So yeah, they've got a choice to make with regards to what they do next. And it's interesting, we've got Adam and Eve, and it's like, will they take the apple? What is the apple? I don't know. I can't see them doing a deal with another party. Yeah, the Hanged Man, they don't quite know what to do yet. They'd like to be firing off. Look, we've got the Eight of Wands and the Chariot and the World. They'd like to be firing off in a totally new direction with fresh new energy and like, this is who we are now. But it doesn't work like that. It's like what I said about the Labour Party. It's going to take time for the change to come in and for the change that has to happen within the Conservative Party and the reset. the needed reset as well, you know, because they deserve to be dumped out, really. That's not going to happen overnight either. The reinvention that has to happen is not going to happen overnight. Let me just see, pull one card for the next leader of the Conservative Party. Whether or not I'm going to get anything, I really don't know, but let's just see. Next leader of the Conservative Party. Anything that you can say at this point in time, please, Spirit. The next leader of the Conservative Party. Judgment, 10 of Pentacles, but we've got the 2 of Cups. I don't know. Falling back in love with somebody we've made a judgment call on in the past, rightly or wrongly. It's linked into an inheritance. 10 of Pentacles is inheritance. Judgment is linked into past actions as well. And then a falling back in love. Feels like it's somebody from the past. I mean, but just pull a card for Boris. Boris Johnson. Got the Queen of Pentacles and the King of Cups. It's a man and a woman. But it can't be, can it? That would be Deputy Prime Minister. Sorry, Deputy Shadow Prime Minister. It's the Shadow Deputy Prime Minister. So the 2 top jobs in the Conservatives, one's a man and one's a woman. King of Cups, is Boris a water sign? And it's an earth sign woman. Let's just have a look. And then I'm going to close this down. And thank you both very much. Both. Hopefully there's more than 2 of you that have watched this. Yes, I'm in the energy of both. I'm in the energy of this King of Cups and Queen of Pentacles. What is Boris? He is what is he? He's a Gemini. No, he's air. He's not water. Oh, I don't know. God knows, I don't know. It's too early to say. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Lots of love, everybody. Hope you enjoyed today's video. I'll be back soon with something completely different. We won't be politics next video. We're going to do something different. We're going to do something more, I don't know, metaphysical. Might do something on light codes or something like that. Take care. Lots of love. Bye for now.